welcome to another episode of Who That Weekly featuring the Dirty Death's finest Fire. Welcome to our first ever preseason game preview, or really just our very first game preview period. So I'm excited to talk about it. Are you excited to talk about it? I sure am. Oh yeah, I've been waiting for football for far too long, as y'all already seen my previous videos. I've been waiting patiently, counting the days, marking it on my calendar, and we have finally made it. Yes, I know it's only just preseason, so don't get upset when you find out it's just preseason. But it's football nonetheless. Like, it's still football, and plus, given the state of the team as of now, it is an opportunity to finally for us to really get to see what this team's made after the constant reporting from training camp and the draft moves that we made, who we selected, from free agency, the new coach hiring. All of that is finally coming together. We finally get to see a preview of it this coming Sunday, and I can't wait for it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk some football, gang. Woo! So, all right. So before I do that, so I'm gonna cover real quickly training camp notes that I took from today, and today would be day 11. So the team did not practice on Monday yesterday. Yeah, they did not practice on Monday, the 4th of August, because they had the day off. In fact, I do actually want to cover briefly their little scrimmage that they had on Sunday, August the 3rd. If I can just pull up my notes here 1 second. So they had a scrimmage, and they do this all the time. This is Coach Moore's first time having an actual scrimmage. And I like these scrimmages because it kind of gives you a preview of what these players could be made of. Now, here's the thing with scrimmages in practice. So, normally what they do is they put out a scenario. So, say, for example, it's first quarter, say, with 5 minutes left in the quarter. You're on the 35-yard line of the opposing team, or you're on your own 35-yard line. It's just given scenarios like that. So, that's exactly what the Coach Moore did and implemented with the team on Sunday. So, and we weren't sure who exactly was going to be the starter for the first reps of scrimmage, and we found out it was Spencer Rattler. I mean, honestly, that doesn't come to surprise at this point, because Rattler, as I've been talking about in my previous video, he has shined the most so far in training camp, and I couldn't be more proud of him for that. Rattler has done the best stuff compared to Tyler Shuck and compared to Jake Haener. Tyler Shuck did get some first-team reps during that scrimmage. And in fact, honestly, though, he actually was technically the better quarterback that day, and I'll get into that in just a moment. I think they had each quarterback had 3 total drives, which lasted a whole 120 plus minutes. That's basically a whole football game essentially, which is probably a good thing because you really need to have your guys up and ready to go for the very first action of the season, which would be this coming game against the Chargers. So it's going to be fascinating to see what these guys are going to be really made of come then. So, but we'll talk about that much later. So let's go ahead and get into the scrimmage notes. So the scrimmage notes, based off the training camp stats, which is a funny topic going on social media, but maybe I'll talk about that later on in this video. But if we were, let's say, if these scrimmage stats were a legit thing, they are very encouraging stats. So we're going to start with Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler, he had 3 drives. He had his first one, which they started him at the opposing 35-yard line. He had 11 plays. He went 5 for 8, and he had a field goal, a 35-yard attempt by, I think, either Blake Grupe or Charlie Smith. Shuck, on the other hand, he had 11 plays as well. He went a perfect 8 for 8 and had a 4-yard touchdown to tight end Jacobson. I forgot his first name. But And then they had another drive where they had started at the plus 40, which usually means you're in your own territory. So at the plus 40, Rattler kind of struggled a little bit, but he still was able to finish the drive with a field goal. He had 6 plays total, went 2 out of 3, and had a 34-yard field goal attempt that was good. So that counts for 2 field goals already by Spencer Rattler. Shuckey, on the other hand, had 2 other drives. Both of them were 4 plays total. Well, 8 plays total, 4 plays each. But not very good at all. The one thing he did do was, like, even though he went 0 for 1 in that one drive alone, they had a 59-yard field goal attempt, which was good. But the next one, they had a turnover on downs, and that wasn't very pretty at all. So, their third drive attempt occurred, excuse me, as their third drive occurred, this is where the defense really started to get after these young quarterbacks, and they made life hell for them, essentially. So the defense gave them everything they got. They gave them all the looks you can think of. And the guys that stood out on defense has been Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker, Julian Blackman, Danny Stutzman. On the defensive line of things, we've seen Brian Brzee get after the quarterback. We've seen Chase Young get after the quarterback. The thing that stood out to me the most were that there were no reported sacks. Yes, there were quarterback hurries, there were quarterback pressures, but no reported sacks. This tells me that the O-line is definitely matching up to that defensive line that has been giving them hell all training camp, and that's exactly what we need from this O-line. That's very encouraging to me. So that's good stuff to hear. But even though in the end the defense, I would say, won the day because, as I mentioned, the defense started to get after them more. They actually forced Spencer Rattler to throw a pick. They forced Tyler Shuck to throw a pick. Both quarterbacks actually have 4 picks total. So anyway, so with that being said, so I would say, if we're just talking about the quarterbacks here, Tyler Shuck was the winner of the day because he was the only quarterback out of the 3 that actually had a touchdown. Now, Spencer Rattler did well. He had field goals, don't get me wrong. But in terms of total points, Tyler Shuck was the better quarterback that day. So that's a good thing for one reason. It shows that Tyler Shuck is definitely improving. Because, as I mentioned before in my last video, Tyler Shuck hasn't been all that great. He's actually shown lots of rookie mistakes early, which is probably a good thing. Like I said, it's a good thing that's happening now rather than in an actual game. So our only hope is that Tyler Shuck will actually be better in an actual game. We'll find out come this weekend. So, but with that being said, Tyler Shuck was definitely the improving quarterback that day. Rattler was still really good. He's actually still the most accurate quarterback out there if we're talking about training camp stats. Now, I want to emphasize this because let's go ahead and just talk about this real quick. So, when I say training camp stats, just take that for an absolute grain of salt. Because for some bizarre reason, and this is all over social media, people are just like saying, "Oh, this guy went this for this or that for that." Like for example, Shuck went 8 for 8. Meanwhile, Spencer Rattler went 3 for 4 or something like that. Like, they're bragging about training camp stats. They're bragging about training camp stats. Who cares? It's like, I'm not saying they're like worthless, but I mean, technically they are worthless. But we talk about it because it gives us an idea how they're doing in practice. And with how we've been reporting the defense these last 2 weeks, the defense has been going right after them, left and right. And it's crazy. So with that, like, I lost my train of thought. Hold up. When it comes to training camp stats, like, just don't even acknowledge it, because they're phony stats that just are there just to give an idea how a player is doing. In this case, it's a quarterback. So, but for some bizarre reason on social media, it's being using as a bragging point. It's like, for example, so everyone knows Shedeur Sanders, right? Shedeur Sanders right now, supposedly is like doing very well, and I've seen his footage on YouTube somewhere. I saw it on a YouTube video. That sure, it looks nice, but the thing that everybody seems to conveniently forget is that this is just practice. This is just training camp. Training camp is practice. We don't care what they do during practice. All we care is how they perform on the field. That's all we care about. Training camp stats mean zilch, nada, nothing, absolutely nothing. I can't emphasize that more. Like, people who are literally bragging about training camp stats, in this case, for example, Shedeur Sanders, people are saying that he's been perfect, he's been amazing, he's showing growth. Well, reality's gonna really sink in when he's actually playing against another team. And just today, the Browns announced that he's actually going to be starting this Friday against the Panthers preseason game. So I'll definitely be tuning in for that. But the same applies to Tyler Shuck. This is where I'm going. This is where I'm going with this subject. The same applies to Tyler Shuck. He might be struggling now. He might look terrible. He might suck right now. But the thing is, we should not be taking the training camp stats seriously whatsoever. Just ignore it. It looks bad now, but we will see how he really looks against another team. So, and that's why preseason to me this year is so important, because everybody's new except for a few players here and there. Like, this is a whole new team. We have a whole new coach, a whole new offensive system. Like, we will finally get to see what this team could potentially be made of against another team. So, and let me tell you, it's a huge difference maker when you're going. It's a huge difference maker when you're going up against another team's defense or offense compared to what you've been practicing against routine day in out. So I can't emphasize that more. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick, because it's been the most popular thing I noticed on social media, and I think people are just getting a little carried away about talking about training camp stats when they mean jack squat, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. So, anyway, with that being said, let me quickly move on to the rest of my training camp notes. So, Juwan Johnson today was limited in practice today. They did mention that Devin Neal had a hamstring injury, which really sucks, because now we can't see him play in preseason this weekend, which I was really looking forward to. But it's okay. We still get to see Kendre Miller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, and Velus Jones Jr. and Marcus Yarns. And Marcus Yarns, as I mentioned in previous videos, is someone you should keep an eye on, because he looks like an exact replica of how Alvin Kamara plays. So he's someone I definitely will have my eyes on, and that's something I'll touch up on in the game preview. So, but going back to the training camp report, so Devin Neal missed a couple weeks due to the hamstring injury. So Spencer Rattler and this is the first time this has happened in practice. Spencer Rattler took first team reps back-to-back training camp days. That's pretty significant. And for me personally, I think it's a good assumption that Coach... let me start that over. It's a good assumption that Coach Moore thinks that Spencer Rattler is probably going to be the starter for this season based on how he's been performing in practice. Now, he has not confirmed it, but the way everything has been going so far in training camp, all roads basically I'll go through Spencer Rattler being the starting quarterback for this team. I'm pretty certain that it's going to happen. So if it doesn't, I'll be shocked. But I really think that it's going to happen. So, and I'm okay with that, because I do think that Spencer Rattler has done very well given the circumstances of this team. I really think that he has shown a lot of growth compared to last season. Now, we will really get to see that come this preseason games against the Los Angeles Chargers. So that will be a story to tell once that day comes. So, but Anyway, so Tyler Shuck also did take some first team reps, and once again he kind of played like a rookie quarterback would do. He's definitely got some room to grow there. So and I would say like for me is and I people might start thinking, oh, did we just waste a draft pick on Tyler Shuck? I don't think so, not quite. Tyler Shuck is a rookie. I think everybody conveniently forgets that fact. Uh, and another fact I think people conveniently forget is when you're in your first year in the NFL, you're not in college anymore, like at all. You're not in college. Like what did you expect from Tyler Shuck? You expect him to just go out there, dominate the field during practice, and eventually like be an automatic starter? No, it doesn't work like that in the NFL. It does not. Only the rare circumstances does that happen. Like for example, Jaden Daniels, he was automatic starter because he was literally on paper the better quarterback on that roster, and guess what? It worked out. C.J. Stroud, another good example. He was the better quarterback on that roster, despite having the backup quarterback, which I forgot his name. I don't care about the Houston Texans, but but it's another good example because he was technically on paper the better quarterback, despite being a rookie, and it panned out, and it's still currently panning out. So, but that doesn't happen all the time. That's the thing. I think people are treating Tyler Shuck as if he was some kind of first-round draft pick. Let me ask you all this. How many second-round draft picks do you know that end up being starters at the quarterback position? Yeah, that's what I thought. You probably can't even name one, right? If you do, leave it in the comments below. But a stat I noticed is that less than 35% of second-round draft pick quarterbacks end up being starters in the NFL. Not a good stat. And that applies to Tyler Shuck as well, because Tyler Shuck, despite his age at 26 years old, despite supposedly being the more NFL-ready quarterback, he's still a rookie. This is still his first year. He's going to struggle, and that is totally fine. I can't emphasize that any further, that he's going to be fine. I say, for Tyler Shuck, if Rattler does indeed take the quarterback one spot, then allow Tyler Shuck to just take that whole year and just learn the offense, continue to grow, continue to develop. I'm totally fine with that. I'm basically repeating myself with last season, where initially I wanted Rattler to like sit behind Carr and let him develop. And then eventually we had to throw him out there because we had no one else to work with because Jay Hayner sucked. So and Derek Carr got himself injured too. So. But it's literally the same scenario, but this time Spencer Rattler is the veteran on the team. Well, he is a veteran. I don't know why I did that, but but in the end, like Spencer Rattler knows the ropes better. He's a little more experienced than Tyler Shuck for obvious reasons. So I say let Tyler sit behind Rattler, let him figure things out. And then we go from there. And maybe next season, let's say Rattler just simply stinks and doesn't work out. Because, I don't know how this season's going to roll out anyway. Rattler could end up being, one, the answer to all of our questions at quarterback. Or two, he's just going to lead us to another high draft pick for the next draft next season. So, but we'll cross that bridge later on. So we're not going to worry about that right this minute. Right now, we're focusing on the now. We're focusing on if Tyler Shuck will eventually make those improvements, which I think he should. I think he's a smart guy. He's got a lot of growing pains to go through. So it comes to no surprise that he's struggling right now. And if it takes him the entire year, then so be it. So with that being said, now let's get into the game preview. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble. So Chargers versus Saints. This is going to be a fun matchup, I think. As I already mentioned, this matchup here is important to all of us Saints fans because we finally get to see what this team could be made of. So, on offense, let's talk about the offense. We got the Chargers offense and the Saints offense. Now, obviously, they're not going against each other for obvious reasons, but let's talk about the Chargers offense real quick. So, last week I was watching the Chargers play against the Lions in the Hall of Fame game, and while they didn't have Herbert, their starting quarterback, play last week. They only had Trey Lance and this guy named DJ. I am not even going to try and pronounce the name. I will post that name in a text in the video. But so like Trey Lance was out there and he shined really well, even though he only went 13 for 20 at 120 yards and had 2 touchdowns. But he looked pretty solid. Um, but then the next thing came around was all these running backs they've been using. They have a whole bunch of them. I don't know who's who. I don't know who's the second back, who's the third back, etc. I'm just reading off stats and what they produce, and these are guys probably we should look out for when we go up against them. So like they have Kimani Vidal. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. He had 9 carries for 37 yards and 2 touchdowns for an average of 4.11. They had Hassan Haskins. He had 6 carries, 34 yards, and had an average of 5.67 yards per carry. And then they had Nyheim Hines. He had 8 carries, 34 yards, averaging 4.25. Those are the guys that stood out the most. And saying them on tape, they look pretty solid. And given that we'll probably be playing a lot of our backups, which usually is the case, these guys we should definitely keep an eye on, and hopefully our defensive starters will not start. Well, maybe some of our starters, but I don't know what their plans are yet for who's starting, who's not. I do know that Alvin Kamara is not playing in this game. Why would we risk his health for a meaningless game? But going back to the Chargers side of things, so those 3 guys stood up to me the most because it looks like they had the most carries and they averaged really well in the first preseason game. Then we go to the receiving core. They had Keandre Lambert-Smith. He had 2 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown, and had 2 overall targets. And really, he was the guy who had the most yards. Everybody else had like a fair share of targets. I'm not going to go through. But he's the guy that stood out the most because he had the most targets. So I would assume if Trey Lance is starting, he's going to try and throw to his guy right there. And Trey Lance, he's also a runner too. So we got to keep our eyes out for that as well. So, but going on the defensive side of things, let's see here. So, in terms of the Chargers' defense, the defense they got a couple of playmakers on defense. They got Tony Jefferson. They got Miles Purchase. I wonder if he purchases stuff on a daily basis. I'm sorry, y'all. When I see a name like that, I have to crack jokes. Anyway, so then they also got Nico Reed and then Eric Rogers. And then on the overall defense, in terms of like tackles and assists, it's all across the board. Nobody really sticks out the most. I guess the guys that stood out to me the most are Jamari Caldwell. I don't know what position he plays. I only presume defensive line or something like that. And Junior Colson. Oh, and Imani Johnson. So those are the guys we should look out for when we're going up against the Chargers. They stood out to me most because they had the best looking stats. So now the Chargers, for them, when they're going up against us, the key players that we should look out for the Saints is obviously the quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler, who I would assume will be taking the first reps in this preseason game. I could be wrong. They have yet to actually make that official. I would assume he's getting first-team reps. And then I would think Tyler Shuck will get the next reps, and then Jake Haener after that. The key matchups here that we should look forward to. The key matchup would be the quarterback battle between the Chargers quarterback and Trey Lance and DJ, and our quarterback battle with Rattler, Shuck, and Haener. So, who's going to stand out the most? Trey Lance has the most experience, even though he has not played a whole lot. But he flashed very well against the Lions last week, so that he's someone that could probably make our quarterbacks look dumb. But I believe in our quarterback room enough to where they could probably outflash the Chargers quarterback room. So I would say if I had to give an edge, I have to give the Chargers the edge because they have the more experienced quarterback room at the moment. So Because our quarterback room is so unknown at this point. We just don't know what they're gonna look like. So, but we'll find out this weekend. So, talking about the running backs. So the running backs, as I mentioned, they had three guys. They had Kamani Vidal, Hassan Haskins, and Naheem Hines. They all had equal amount of carries and yards and, well, not touchdowns, but average per carry. So they're going to be going up against Kendre Miller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, Velus Jones Jr., and Marcus Yards. So in terms of like who has the edge in running back, I have to give us Saints the edge because while those guys have okayish stats, not great, I think our running back room is a lot more talented because Kendre Miller, he's a beast. We know that. If he can only stay healthy, that's the problem. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, also a beast. He has lots of proven experience. Same with Cam Akers. So like I really like our running back room more than I like theirs. So, let's go ahead and get into the wide receiver room. So the wide receiver room, like I mentioned, the Chargers have Keandre Lambert-Smith, who had the most targets last week. While compared to us, we have a bunch of unknowns other than Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and who else we got? Oh yeah, Brandon Cooks. We got a couple playmakers on offense. So while I don't think they will be playing a lot, in fact, I'm not sure how much playing time they're gonna get this weekend. I would imagine they might get maybe one or two drives, maybe just one really, if we're thinking about it. So So who am I giving the edge to? I don't assume the Chargers are playing any of their starters this coming weekend, so I'm giving the edge once again to the Saints. So now I'm not gonna go by every single position group, just throwing it out there because there's just too many to cover. So, but let's go ahead and talk about the defense. So the defense side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, I really like the Saints defense more than I like the Chargers defense. But the Chargers defense made life hell for the Detroit Lions last week. And I grant the backups of the Chargers just absolutely outmanned the backup of the Lions. So it could go either way. So if like I said, I like all defense better, and I might sound biased because I'm a Saints fan. Obviously, I want us to do well. But at the same time, the Chargers defense really made life hell for the Detroit Lions. So for this matchup alone, because we have a lot of rookies who are likely going to be getting a lot of playing time this coming week, I'm giving the edge to the Chargers. It's not by much. I really think the Saints have better playmakers, but at the same time, we have yet to see them play in action in an actual game. So I'm giving them the edge for this week. So what are we looking at here? What we're looking at is that the Chargers have some good playmakers, despite good backup playmakers, so to speak. But I would say the overall picture, and who I think is going to win this game, I think it's going to be pretty even for the most part. But I'm going to say the Saints are going to come out on top. I think the Saints will win in a low-scoring fashion because usually we always start off with low-scoring games every first preseason game of the year. I think the Saints will come out on top. We will win 17-14. Yes, very low-scoring because I think our defense has improved a lot from what I've been seeing in practice. I really do believe it wholeheartedly. And even though the Chargers made life hell for the Detroit Lions last week, I don't know if they're ready for what we're about to throw at them this coming week. So, but I'm not expecting our offense to just completely light up the field with ease. I don't expect it whatsoever. I expect it to be a massive struggle fest where it might be boring to tears. But it's still football. I love it, and I can't wait for it. So yeah. So that is my game preview for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't checked out last week's video, go ahead. It should be available with that pop-up screen at the end of this video. So don't forget to like and subscribe. If you haven't liked and subscribed, before I forget, Thank y'all so much for 100 subscribers. We made it to 100. Let's go. 102 technically, but we made it to 100. So I can't thank y'all enough for y'all's support. This means that you guys are really enjoying my content. I'm so happy about that, and I'm really happy to put out more content for you guys to enjoy. And I hope you guys. I hope to bring more in the future. So anyway, with that being said, thank you so much for the support. Continue to follow us on all social media. I have Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, except TikTok. Screw TikTok. But continue to follow us all on social media to get the latest updates. And of course, when you like and subscribe, you get the latest videos on YouTube. So yeah, so you guys are the GOATs. Love y'all very much. And yeah, just once again, like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, and we'll catch you guys on Sunday. We'll have a post-game reaction video shortly afterwards, and I can't wait, baby. Football is back, baby. Let's go. Who dat, baby? Alrighty, gang. I'll talk to you guys later. Who dat?